Hello, everyone. I'm Nate Truex, and you're listening to the Croccast Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Croccast Podcast. I'm your host, Nate, and today I'm joined yet again by Mr. Andrew Austin. Andrew, welcome back onto the show.
Man, I'm excited to be here. It's been a while.
Yeah. So, what's been new with you these days? It's been what, year and a half, 2 years since you've been on here?
I don't know. This podcast is the reason I started podcasting. That was like 2.5 years ago, and it's gone by really fast. I've produced, I think, 30 episodes. I did most of it in that first year after I came on here. I was so inspired by podcasting. And I did a bunch like right when I started. Slowed down last year. I moved back home, back in the swamps now, near Beaumont, where my career with crocodilians started. Catching nuisance alligators again. Not currently working full time as a biologist, but I have a couple side gigs. I manage a ranch for my boss. I do some habitat work out there and have my own little surveys and studies that I have going on that I don't know what I'll ever do with the data, but it's fun to collect. So I do that. Still herping and birding and hunting and fishing and doing it all, man. Trying to stay connected to conservation biology in any way I can. But yeah, it's been great. I just got back from a big trip. That's probably gonna be the bulk of this episode. I was down in Suriname, but we'll get into that here in a little bit.
Yeah. So you heard here, folks. This podcast is create another podcast so you can officially call me the Podfather.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think I've inspired other people to start podcasting. So
you give you a podcast you cannot refuse.
Yeah, it's just a great way to connect with people and yeah, I just really enjoy it. I've been in a slump. We were talking about this before we started recording, but you go through slumps. Life's unpredictable. You got stuff going on, and if I'm not like really in the mood to podcast, I prefer not to, just because I'm not going to have as much fun. But as of right now, as I speak, I'm getting like by the second, I'm getting more in the spirit of podcasting. So I think I'm going to start producing a lot more, not just once every 3 months, but try to do them once a week again. Or I was even doing them twice a week when I was really getting after it. But okay, yeah, it's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. Have you thought about doing any like YouTubing at all?
Well, last year, with this new job I have a lot of free time. Work I work in the duck call industry. So I run this. I'm actually sitting in the shop right now. I like to record here because I have really good Wi-Fi, better than where I live out in the sticks. But yeah, this little shop I'm sitting in. This is where I work. I make duck calls, and I run this duck call company, and it's really easy. It's a lot of fun. And the off season is basically all of spring and all of summer, which is great. Um, and I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
Have you thought about doing YouTube at all?
YouTube. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, like YouTube. So yeah, I have all this free time in the spring and the summer, and so I was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna use this opportunity while I'm working at this pretty laid back job to try to really pursue YouTube, really pursue Instagram and podcasting, and try to like make something of a career out of social media. So last year I did a full year of, I made a couple of YouTube videos. I made a lot of reels on Instagram. Really try to lean into that, social media kind of production world. I did fairly well on Instagram. I got, a lot more followers. I really try to keep the content, educational and consistent with, my values, not doing anything for just for clicks.
Yeah.
YouTube was I did a couple videos for YouTube. It's a lot of work, and when I'm out herping or doing any kind of exploring, birding, or anything like that, um, those experiences are really, really important to me. That's what brings me happiness. And filming the whole time and like having to manipulate my experience based off of getting the shots and talking, and I'm not a fan, man. Like it wasn't terrible, but I don't think YouTube is for me. I really don't, unless I had like, a camera guy just following me around and I didn't have to manipulate my behavior at all. But as far as like going out and just kind of documenting, um, and I try to keep it like vlog style to where I wasn't, changing really anything. But, ultimately you still end up, you know, manipulating your behavior to get, certain shots. And it's a lot of work editing. And, it could certainly be worthwhile. And some people, it really works for them. But I think for me, I don't think I'm ever going to be into the YouTube thing. We'll see. Maybe I'll try again this year. But last year, I don't know. I wasn't completely sold on it. I think media wise for me, I think podcasting will always be something I do. And then, just using Instagram to, promote the podcast and share my wildlife photography and do some educational videos. I no longer like really aspire to work on social media or like have it as a, uh, you know, way to make money.
Yeah.
Sounds, I mean, everything has its, you know, everything has something that sucks, and doesn't matter what job it is. And you get a lot of freedom being a social media influencer or whatever, but um, I feel like it just takes away the I don't know, it takes away the charm of life or something. I can't explain it. For me, it just doesn't. It's not for me. I think I know that much about myself.
Yeah. Just gets really tiring. Had to put on a mask all the time.
Yeah, it's you form this social media persona, kind of inevitably, and I guess some people are better at being as they're being their genuine self even in front of a camera. I try my best to, and I feel like I am pretty genuine, but like still, you still have to present yourself in a certain way. Um, and yeah, I don't know, when I was doing like a lot of even with Instagram, like I was making a lot of reels, and I don't know, it does something to you psychologically, and I got like kind of addicted to like the videos going viral, and like they were still valuable, and I don't, I'm still going to make those sorts of videos, educational videos, um, teaching people about just biodiversity in general, or going into an ecosystem and finding a bunch of species, and just making people aware of what's out there, and trying to inspire people to get out there and explore themselves. All that's really valuable to me, but um, I don't know. Yeah, it's just the influencer thing, the viral content thing. It's like a slippery slope. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where
So,
I'm at right now.
yeah. I'm gonna asking that because I've kind of started YouTubing a little bit. I did a random video about Temisma, like explaining this, like biology and taxonomy and that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean,
I
how'd you like it?
actually kind of liked it
Yeah.
because I basically just rambled about something I nerd out about and then just cut out the most rambly parts of it. So
Yeah, that's a pretty simple model if you're mainly doing like captive herps or um in a controlled environment like that. I feel like it can be a little more enjoyable.
yeah. But, what was I going to ask? Speaking of your Instagram, I know again going to go back to Suriname. You've been posting a lot of cool stuff on that, so I guess it's time to finally get into the meat of this podcast to talk about your trip.
Let's do it, man. Yeah, it was incredible. It's Suriname isn't even a country I knew about until I saw the ad for this trip. Um, yeah, it's just random little country north of, uh, or I guess east of Brazil. I don't know. The continent's so weird. I guess north of Brazil. It's next to Brazil.
And it
um,
shares the border with Brazil, yeah.
it's, and with Guyana and French Guiana, and I think that's it. Yeah, so it's just a little country tucked away in South America, in a corner of the Amazon ecoregion, um, and it's overlooked by a lot of people, especially naturalists. But I think in the future that's going to change. There's a lot more ecotourism down there, and it's really growing. They have more birders going down there and more herpers going down there, and it's just a really incredible place. Some people when they think of going herping in the Amazon, they'll go to like Ecuador or Peru, Brazil, and those areas are great. But like, you're not going to see, from what I understand, you're not going to see 30 snakes in a night down there in pristine, primary rainforest type habitat. But in some of these areas of Suriname, like we're in this kind of disturbed habitat, and like having 30, 40 snake nights, just insane. So we'll spend time in like habitat, and then we'll be like in some high elevation primary forest, and you don't see as many species, but you see some like true holy grails of Amazonia up in those pristine habitats. Exploring blackwater streams and lowland swamp forest. Dude, it was incredible. I think we ended up with 83 snakes total, and 26 species, which is pretty good. That's snakes. Oh, it is the dry season there right now. I just got back. I was there. I got back on Sunday, this past Sunday. I was there for 10 days. And yeah, so it was dry down there, and so the amphibian movement wasn't as good. We didn't see as many frogs or toads as I was hoping, but snakes were great.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't like the majority of the population located just along like a coastal strip, more or less?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like 90% of the people. I think there's like 500,000 people in the whole country. Like 90% of them are in Paramaribo, which is kind of by the coast in the north of Suriname. Aside from that, like there's a couple, little suburbs on the outside of Paramaribo. Other than that, there's little villages. A little bit of history of Suriname. It was, originally it was inhabited by Native Americans. The main tribe there was the Arawak people. And then the Dutch moved in to colonize Suriname. I guess sometime in the 1800s, 17 or 1800s. I don't know the years to be exact, but so it's a Dutch speaking country, which is really interesting. There's still a lot of Dutch people there. When the Dutch came, they were part of the just kind of like the southern U.S. or part of the kind of the slave trade. So there's all these they call them maroon tribes. These are African tribes they're the descendants of escaped slaves that lived throughout the forest. So kind of like outside of Paramaribo, you have maroon tribes living in very, very remote regions of Suriname. They're living in an African culture, which is pretty interesting. And then you still have native tribes living out there. I think they're still, largely uncontacted, undisturbed tribes living in Suriname, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's considered to be the most forested country in the world, the greenest country in the world, which is pretty phenomenal. They maintained most of their forest in a completely natural state.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But also that's one of my favorite things about Austin Stevens' Snake Master show was that he also showed the animals, but he also had really great like cinematography regarding like showing the landscape and the natural environment, but also going into like local culture and anthropology and that sort of stuff as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, because humans we're part of the system too. We're always part of nature. So yeah, that was a cool part of going to Suriname, was seeing the mix of cultures, and they speak like the Surinamese language is like a mix of Dutch, English, African, like there's some Asian influence in there. Even there's a lot of Chinese people that live there, a lot of people from India. It's just like a whole like hodgepodge of cultures, kind of like the United States, honestly. We have all sorts of cultures too, but down there they're more like intermingled, I guess. Like they all just kind of combine to form one very unique Surinamese culture.
Yeah. Well, you do know that I actually live next to like the largest Amish population in the world, so
I did not. I'm not surprised. I understand that Ohio is a hot spot for the Amish.
Yeah. So I hear other language a lot, a different language a lot as well. They call
Mhm.
it Dutch as well, but I think it's more
What do they
like
speak?
old. They call it Dutch, but I think it's more closely related to like old Northern German dialect.
Okay, okay. Speaking of the Amish, they actually had a big thing in Suriname recently, and while I was there, they the good news came in that they didn't succeed, but there was a huge, I guess, Amish interest group that was trying to buy up like some like 10% of Suriname for to like do farming and like create their own kind of community there, like their own like city and like use all this land for whatever
Yeah.
for agriculture and all this stuff. There's going to be a huge Amish settlement there, and it was like all in the news, and they were talking about it. The guys I was with, the guides, they were all worried about it. They were going to destroy all this habitat. But while I was there, the news came in that they did not get the permits or whatever to develop. So there's an Amish interest in Suriname, which is kind of cool. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Like even like in Belize, you'd see. I guess they weren't Amish, but they're similar. I think they're Mennonites. I don't know how
Yeah. That
similar
sounds
they
about
are, but they
right.
live. There's a lot of Mennonites there. They just a lot of them. I guess when America became so modern, a lot of them fled down to more remote parts of the Americas where they could still live like kind of in the old ways.
Yeah. Well, it's thing is, this is true of Amish as well. It really does vary from group to group within those.
Yeah, right. There makes sense.
It's very much depend on the local bishop, which bishop you have, who
I
sets the
got you.
rules for you. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Human culture. I could riff on about human culture for an hour straight. But we're here to
yeah,
talk about herps.
yeah. So again, going back to Suriname herps, what was your favorite find you were hoping to find, and what was your favorite find you of a species you weren't thinking about when you first took the trip?
um, I guess the first one that I didn't really have like a set. There were like five species I was really hoping to see. The one that really stood out to me was um, the emerald tree boa. Um,
Yeah,
but they're phenomenal snakes, and we ended up seeing three of them. Um, if you're in the right habitat, they're fairly common, and they're fairly easy to find. Like they stand out in the canopy. Most of the herping down there for people listening, the style of herping down there is you go out at about 8-9 p.m. and you herp till sunrise. Like it's an all night ordeal. You're wasting your time herping during the daytime, pretty much. I mean, you can
hmm,
go out and you might see some lizards, and maybe can find like a anaconda and submerged or something. But yeah, so emerald tree boa was up there. Of course, green anaconda was up there. Um, Either one of the Paleosuchus. We ended up seeing Trigonatus. Um, that was high on my list. What else? I never really knew much about the venomous snakes down there, but like kind of the main genus of vipers are Bothrops. What I've learned, all these different species, from
yeah,
Mexico, Central and South America. It's a pretty diverse group. And there's one that's arboreal. There's two. There's Bothrops bilineatus. They call it the emerald palm viper. Um, Beautiful, beautiful snake. Kind of found in similar habitat as the emerald tree boa. Um, Primary forest, equally higher elevation. Um, that's one I didn't know much about, but like after seeing it, I was like, man, I understand why people are obsessed with these beautiful, beautiful snakes. Some of the unexpected stuff would have been like the pseudoboa. Like I never really knew anything about that genus. Never really even heard of it. Those were very interesting. There's what is it called? It's like a giant uh, rough earth snake. I think the genus is Atractus, and it looks identical to a Haldea, uh, but it's like way bigger. It's really interesting. We saw one of those. I liked it a lot. Um, the
yeah,
pipe snake. Pipe snake was really cool. It looks like a mud snake, but reversed. But like the red belly is on the dorsum, like checkerboard pattern with red and black is the dorsum, and the ventral is like checkerboard white and black. Really strange coral snake mimic. I can't remember the genus for the pipe snake. Um, but yeah, there are so many random snakes like that, and other herps that I had never heard of. They would just pop up out of nowhere as we're looking for the main targets.
Yeah. Let's see here. Would one of those genuses possibly be Pseudoblades or Philodryas or Xenozybellus?
Xenozybellus, that's a vine snake.
I think so.
That sounds like one.
Hmm?
That sounds like
Go
one of
ahead.
the vine. Xenozybellus. We found Oxybellus, and we found another vine snake that was in a different genus. I think
Yeah.
it's Xenos.
Yeah, Oxybellus. Yeah, those are both. Oxybellus is the North American vine snake.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, just looking cursorily over this book, I have the natural history and captive care of false water cobras, barren racers, musaranas, and other xenodontan snakes by Dr. Zach Loffman.
Gotcha.
And it's basically all the South American rear fangs. So
Right.
and it's talking about one. And the book kind of goes tribe by tribe. So I'm looking through the Philodryadini tribe, which is the South American bush racers, what they're called.
I don't think we saw any in that group.
So that's it. Actually, here saying Oxybellus North American vine snake proved to be problematic for Philodryadin taxonomists. Its morphological similarity to Xenozybellus.
Okay. Yeah,
led some herpetologists to believe this colubrid may be a dipsatis. So, yeah, Oxybellus is a true colubrid. Xenozybellus is Xenodontan.
Oh, I got you. Interesting. They look very similar, but I guess taxonomically they're not closely related.
Yeah, so Xenodontan snakes belong to a separate clade, which is the dipsatids. So North America, that'll include hognoses and ringnecks.
I got you. That makes sense. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, my herp taxonomy is rusty.
Well, to be fair, you could have brushed up a year ago and with snake taxonomy, and it would have been completely changed with it by this time next year. So,
yeah. And then going down to South America, I really only knew, the kind of the common snakes that most Americans know, like anacondas, emerald tree boas, slender tree boas. Man, the Bushmaster was that was one of the big targets, but it was we found one, but the thing was it was the very first snake I saw in Suriname, my very first South American snake. So there wasn't a build up. It was just like we get on the trail and like the guides bring us straight to a Bushmaster. And
it's like the best scene in the movie. It's the first scene in the movie. So
it was a great snake. It was a younger one. It was probably only like a meter long. Not a very big snake. They had found the snake before, and I think that's probably that was kind of the turnoff for me. I was happy to photograph it, and it was a phenomenal animal. Like they pointed at where it was. Like they ushered me over when they found it, and they're like, "Look in that area." It took me like a solid 3 minutes to spot it. Like their camouflage is insane. But the dream is to be hiking. Like my dream is to be in like Suriname or Peru somewhere, or even Costa Rica. I want to be hiking by myself, or like not with a guide, and hike up like a true monster. A huge one,
like a true 8-foot long beast of a snake.
Yeah, like just unexpected. I just like find one because like I'm the same way when it comes to guided hunting or guided fishing. It's great, and you do it, when you have to. And when you're going to a place like Suriname, you really do need guides. But it always takes away like the build up and like the failing and then finally succeeding and like the excitement. Because I'm all about the experience. I love the animals, but it's the experience of finding them. And so my first Bushmaster was a bittersweet experience, I guess. I'm glad to have checked it off. Um, and maybe I'm just spoiled and I'm being too nitpicky here. Some people that have been herping Latin America for decades and still haven't seen one. But
Yeah,
it was just like it was almost like going to a zoo. Like you show up, first snake in the jungle, and then there's one right there.
yeah.
But so yeah,
It's almost like
it-
being in the souped up sports car of your dreams, but someone else is driving it.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, that so we went to three different locations. And I start from the beginning. The trip was through Serpentine Expeditions. Serpentine Expeditions is ran by my friend Ian Breland. He's an incredible naturalist, cinematographer, conservationist, and he runs these trips all around the world. Um, and he's basically the middleman hooking you up with local guides in these different countries. And he's also a guide, so he goes along and then he helps guide as well. But usually you're linking up with local guides. So like he's done like trips to Southeast Asia, he's done trips to South America, done trips to Africa. Um, and yeah, so that's who I went through. There were I think 10 people in total on the trip, and our guides in Suriname were under a company called Unlock Nature, and under Unlock Nature is Herping Suriname. It's all ran by a guy named Dick Locke. He's from the Netherlands. He's lived in Suriname for like 10, 15 years. Dude is an incredible naturalist, incredible herper. Just a really great dude all around. Like he was such a great guide, and he, along with the other guides, the other one was Matt Wallace, and then Marcos um, from Argentina. I forget Marcos's last name. Matt is from Scotland. He started working with Dick, I think, like a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. But they're all incredible in the field, incredible guides, and they realized pretty quick with me that I didn't want to be treated like a tourist. In fact, I refused to even call myself a tourist. When they would refer to us as tourists, I told them, "Don't call me a tourist. I want to be part of the experience in the natural way, not a touristy way." Um, and they caught on to that pretty quick about me, and they really let me be a part of the herping adventure. And they trusted me to do certain things that they wouldn't usually do. Um, so yeah, that's the context on how who I went with and kind of the scene. Yeah, so we went to three different locations. Um, first night we camped in hammocks for 3 nights, and we went to another location, stayed in a lodge, went to another location, and at each spot we're herping all night long. Daytime was pretty boring. We're usually just nap, maybe go on a daytime hike for birds or just to explore. And then we ended up with 83 snakes in total, um, which is pretty incredible. I was really tired after the whole thing, but it was well worth it.
Yeah. So you also found some South America coral snakes, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we need to talk about some of the other snakes we found. The coral snake. We only found one coral snake, but it was God, what's the species name? It's like the ribbon coral snake. I think it's the main like widespread coral snake in South America. The thing was massive. It was like almost 5 feet long. I could not believe what I was looking at when we like came across it. And it was really awesome how we found it. There was a guy on the trip that is not a naturalist, not a herper. He just saw the posting on Instagram and signed up. Just wanted to go on an
Hmm.
adventure. The first night in the jungle, after we found the Bushmaster, he was like, "Wow, this is serious." So he got really scared, and he ended up like way behind the group after that. And we looked back there, and he was he had his headlight and his little snake hook, and he was looking under like every leaf before he would take a step because he was scared he was going to step on a bushmaster because he was amazed. He just couldn't believe how camouflaged they were, and he
Yeah.
thought they were just going to be everywhere. So we couldn't like we didn't know what to do. We thought he was like on drugs or something. um, so yeah, and he kept seeing snakes, and there was no snakes. Like he kept saying he would see a snake, and there was no snake there. So we're like, this is the night one. We're like, we got to spend the next 10 days with this guy. We don't know what his deal is from Miami. Like, it's a very interesting guy, and we didn't know what to think of him at first because everybody else on the trip were pretty seasoned naturalists, biologists, outdoorsy people. Um, and then night two comes around, and Paul's starting to kind of warm up to the everything. He's kind of getting in the groove of things, and one of the first snakes of the night. For some reason, he was at the front of the group at one point, and he's the first one that saw the coral snake, and I didn't believe him. Like he just yelled coral snake. He knew what a coral snake was,
Hmm.
and I with all the false alarms that we had, and then we run over there, and it turns out to be one of the most incredible snakes of the trip. Is that that's gonna bug me if I don't remember the name. I gotta remember the name. It's the coral snake, but I gotta remember the thing was it was huge. It was beautiful. It was the most incredible lapid I've seen in the wild. Lemniscatus. That's it. Yeah, Lemniscatus. I don't know how big they actually get, but this one was like um well over 3 feet long. Like it was huge.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, there are like a lot more coral snakes in South America than there are in North America.
Right.
So
The red touch black rule does not apply to snakes down there. Um, yeah. So if you ever go to South America, the red touch yellow kill a fellow, red touch black friend of Jack. That is false news down there. That
yeah,
ribbon snake was it. Yeah, red band, black band, red, black, and then it had like a white band. No yellow on it. So it's really an incredible snake. It would not sit still for photos, which was kind of a bummer. I got like a couple vouchers, but like that's a snake I really wanted to get like beautiful like field guide style photos of, but it was so big and it was so just you know it acted like any coral snake I've encountered in Texas. Like it just wouldn't sit still, and it
just
just the thought of getting bit by that thing was just scary. It's such a big coral snake. Um,
yeah,
yeah, that was pretty cool. We found let's see, found one coral snake mimic, um, and that was also found by Paul, oddly enough, and also didn't believe him when he said snake. I never believed him because he so many times he would see something and it wasn't a snake. Like I would go over there, he'd be like pointing at a bunch of leaves. And I'm like, there's nothing there, bro. But he found this thing. It's called a pipe snake. Um, it looks like, and I guess I'm assuming like you would consider it a coral snake mimic, um, because it's red and black on top. Um, but it's not quite like it almost looks like a mud snake flipped over. Kind of what it looks like.
huh?
Then an Anilius genus, Anilius. Um, but yeah, that thing actually, I guess it is a coral snake mimic because like when I saw it, I was actually questioning whether it was a coral snake or not because there's so many coral snake species in South America. You never know what you're looking at. Small,
Yeah,
kind of cylindrical, small eyes. Fossorial, brightly colored.
has bright colors. Yeah,
I just I erred on the side of caution before I grabbed it, just to make sure we had a positive ID. When the guides ran over, they yelled pipe snake, and they were all super excited because it's kind of a secretive species that they don't see, and especially not during the dry season. So we had really good luck with that. But yeah, that was one of the most bizarre snakes of the trip. Was that pipe snake that did not
yeah.
expect to see. Um, I don't think it's a rear fang. I think it's think it's completely non-venomous. But yeah, among the other little fossorial snakes, I found one other snake. It kind of like a pine woods, um, kind of like a pine wood snake from Florida. Yeah, that's
Okay,
the pipe snake. Yeah, really incredible. It looks so much like a mud snake, just flipped upside down.
it really does. It almost looks like a Bismarck ringed python.
Yeah, really interesting. Um, yeah, we're pretty lucky to see that one because it, like a lot of our fossorial snakes here, if you're in a drought, they go underground and they don't come out. They just estivate
Yeah,
until moist conditions come back.
you just dig down to where a little bit of moisture remains and deactivate.
Hmm. But I don't know, like yeah, the droughts in the jungle, I guess, are a little different. Like there's still some moisture there. It's not like a drought here where it's super dry. Um, but it certainly affects amphibian activity. We didn't see a lot of the frogs I was hoping to see were not active. We did see plenty of frogs, but none of the really cool ones. Well, we saw the Medusa, which was really cool. It's a giant monkey frog, like they call it, or waxy monkey frog.
Okay.
Um,
Are
Huge.
those the ones that are kind of common in the pet trade, or is that a different type of
Yeah,
monkey frog I'm thinking of?
I think they are in the pet trade. They're huge. They're like the size of your hand.
I think it's probably because I think Suriname is like one of the few remaining South American countries that allow export of their wildlife for the pet trade.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. It's
So
a
I think
real
it's like the
shame.
main source of like Paleosuchus in the United States. So
Really? Wow.
I think
I
it's
mean,
either that or Guyana or something like that.
they're everywhere down there, so I'm not surprised. We saw the first night we saw three hatchlings, hatchling trigonotus. We saw a couple more came in here and there throughout the trip, but a lot of the wetlands and the rivers were like nearly completely dry. All the streams are dry. Like they are in a really bad drought. Um, we did not get to see palpabrosis. I was kind of bummed about that. Um, it's not that they're that much different, but it'd be cool to see both the Paleosuchus and I think palpabrosis are cooler.
Yeah, that's
I'm just
fair.
biased.
Well,
I think
it kind of depends, in my opinion. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking
all
for
right.
something that just looks kind of kind of cool looking, yeah, it's Halbrosis. If you want something that looks like a miniature pissed off dragon, you want Trigonotus. So
Yeah, I don't know, man. When we had a that pair at Crocodile Encounter, two really old palps that came in. They were like jet black, orange eyes. I just thought they were so cool looking as adults, like big mature adults. And also
yeah,
my first work came to hold was palpabrosis. So I've always been partial to the Cuviers. Um,
yeah,
but they're both incredible. That when I saw that first one, I I felt like I was in a dream, man. Like you dream about seeing these species in the wild, and then there they are right in front of you. Too much to take in.
yeah. Of all the species you saw, it actually might be the one I'm the most jealous of. So
Yeah, I mean that was one of the easiest. I thought it was going to be like a lot of work to get one, but like first location that we were at, it's called Palulu. It's like an eco, uh, it's like a national forest type place. Anybody can go hiking there. But it's mainly it's a lowland swamp forest, and there's like these black water streams cutting through it, and just incredible looking habitats. And it kind of reminded me of the black water streams that we have in the south here. Um, like it looks identical. It's that deep tannin stain. Looks like sweet tea, and that's where we found uh, most of the caiman and our first anaconda was in that habitat, which was super cool. I didn't expect to see an anaconda in there, and they're not. It's not the best location for them. They mainly find them in the closer to the main rivers, or bigger streams. Um, but yeah, that one night we found a couple caiman and that little baby green anaconda like not very far from each other, which was super cool. Just two iconic species in this really like prehistoric looking habitat. Big little swamp forest with like that black water, giant fur ants cruising around. Um, the one really cool snake that I mean, I'm not surprised. I would assume they had a Nerodia equivalent down there was helicops. They call it the,
Okay.
band snake. They have different common names. Keelback water snake, I think, is another one. But the genus is helicops. And those are pretty common there as well. Um, and actually have a pretty decent uh, bite from what I understand. I got bitten. I didn't have an issue, but some people have bad reactions to their bite. I think they're kind of like a garter snake. But
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's also another type of xenodontine, actually.
it may
Double check.
it might, I don't want to say it, someone may have said they're rear fanged.
Yeah. Because that's what I've found out from reading this book is a lot of snakes that a lot of ecological rules that we filled by colubrid and nature scene snakes. Not not nature scenes. The group that garter snakes and water snakes belong to up here.
Nature scenes, yeah.
Yeah, those are often filled by xenodontines down in South America.
Oh, interesting. So so the helicops is not closely related to our nature scenes.
I'm looking it up right now. Erythrolamprus. No, that's not it. Double-banded false coral snake. Okay.
While you're looking, I wanted to point out that um, I'm on a journey of really learning South American herpetofauna, and this is helping right now. Like talking about this taxonomic stuff because I don't have a sense of really anything down there. Like it's such a new place. Like I never would have imagined helicops was it's very distant to our Nerodia. They look similar, behave similarly, but it's just convergent. Convergence. It's not close relation. It sounds like.
Okay, hold on. I might be wrong on this one.
I bet you're right.
No, I'm looking it up right now. It's more like the genus I was thinking of is more like Erythrorampus is one of them. Let's see here.
They are closer to nature scenes.
Erythrolamprus and Lycophis. Oh, just gonna show you this picture of Lycophis called Lycophis animalus. I'm just gonna show you this picture they have in the book. See how close it looks to a garter snake.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
So,
another cool example of convergence, huh?
Yeah. Let's see here. But I have to look through it again, but
Helicops. I'm looking at Google right now.
yeah, but I was looking at Erythrolamprus, which is kind of the water snake, garter snake equivalent. And has a picture of one feeding on a smoky jungle frog and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's Xena. Dipsadinae.
okay.
Yeah, helicops is in that subgroup or subfamily.
All right. Let's see here.
That's really interesting. I wonder if are crayfish snakes and swamp snakes in that Dipsadinae family subfamily too?
I have to look it up because this book covers South American stuff. So I think like the South American branch of Dipsadidae is called the Xenodontines. So
The helicopters I'm looking at right now on this Google picture, it looks very similar to our Regina and Leodites. So I wonder if they're close relatives to those two.
Hmm. Let's see here. Uh,
You there?
yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Did you just lose the recording?
No, still recording.
Okay. I just got sent off.
I don't. It says you're still here, so I don't know what's going on.
Huh.
Weird.
Let's keep rolling with it then.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting so far in the weeds on this taxonomy stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting. I liked to really it's fun learning a new area, new groups of snakes. Um, when you've been herping an area for so long, like here in Texas, I still have a lot of species I need to see in Texas, but like in my corner of Texas, I've seen mostly everything. So it's
Yeah.
like I feel like a clueless child again going down to South America, which is great.
Yeah.
I feel like a true.
I I gotta be honest with you. I kind of feel like the same way. Like outside of the really highly advertised, uh, charismatic species of South American snakes. So like your boas, your anacondas, your
Yeah.
bushmasters, the things that are obviously a pit viper. I
Hmm.
wouldn't know what if something's venom, front fang, coral, or a rear fang mimic, or a completely harmless
Right.
colubrid. So
Right. Yeah. I
that'd
was
be
very
like
nervous.
the one con
No,
I'm most cautious about picking up a random snake on.
right. The only snakes I was comfortable grabbing were the very obvious large colubrids, and most of those would have been the Chironeus, the Sepos. They're like coach whips or racers. Um, just one look at
Okay.
those, and I knew they were grabbing. We found they're kind of a prized snake for herpers down there to find. There's a couple different species. We found ended up with three species. There's Chironeus scurulus, which is the main one that people want to find. They're like blood red as adults, get really big. Um, there's I think one's called Fuscus. I don't know the common name. It kind of had like a grayish dorsal that kind of tapered down to like a black, almost like a coach whip. Um, and then we found another one, something venturous, had a yellow belly. Um, we did see Phylodryas, but we didn't catch Phylodryas. I see you got that pulled up right now.
Yeah. Well, it probably wouldn't have been Baronite. That's more of a like southern Brazil, Paraguay, northern
Yeah,
Argentina
we
species.
we saw a Phylodry something in that genus. It was really high up. It was our last night at this place called Fredberg, and we're all super tired. The sun was about to come up, and it was just me, Ian, and the other guides, and we saw this thing way up in a tree, like I don't know, had to be like 50 feet up, and we were really determined to get it down. So we cut down this Cecropia tree, which are kind of like a common like early successional weedy tree down there, and they get really tall though. And we chopped one down and tried to get that tiny little Phylodryas out of the tree, but it didn't work. But we put in a solid effort for like an hour cutting down trees, and it was an adventure. Yeah, looking at these pictures you got pulled up, I really wish we would have got that Phylodryas down. Really incredible
Yeah.
snakes.
That's looking like. Does that look like what you saw?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was really high up, so I never really got to see it. But that emerald green and the general shape it looks right. It was a species that the guides was really hoping to get for us, but um, we only ended up seeing the one, and it was way too high.
Yeah, I'm looking through the neat thing about this book. It has different range maps of all different species. And it goes by each tribe again. So each tribe will have its own section of all different species with their range maps. So
Are there
that's how I was
gaps on
able to.
Are there gaps on Suriname, or does it have Suriname filled in?
It shows. It doesn't show. The thing is that the outline of it isn't national boundaries. It's more like ecological boundaries, like ecozone
Oh,
boundaries.
I see. Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
but
I
yeah, it's like one of the range maps on it.
oh, I see. Yeah. I asked that because Suriname has been largely understudied. I know Dick, the main guy, he's discovered I think like 5 or 6 species since he's been there. And his first introduction to working in Suriname, he was actually there to take photos of herps for a herping Suriname, like the very first herping book for Suriname, like field guide, because there's really not a lot of resources for the country. Not enough naturalists have been down, not enough herpers have been down there to document everything and get everything in publication, which is great for a guy like Dick because he has a lot of work to do, and I'm sure he's going to discover many more species of probably little fossorial snakes and random amphibians.
Yeah,
Or some. I don't think we found anything in that genus. Incredible looking
it's in the
snake.
same. It's in the same tribe as the Philodryas. So
It looks similar. I want to say they have a decent bite. I think their rear
that's
fangs.
what I'm. That's what I see in this book is it's saying Philodryads have one of the nastier bites out of the South American rear fangs. So
Yeah, because I remember like when we were trying to catch that Philodryas, they were saying like we get this thing down, we got to be like at least a little careful because you don't know how you're going to react to some of those rear fang snakes. Probably not gonna be life threatening, but you never know.
yeah, well, they didn't know boom slings were life threatening until someone died of it. So
Yeah, it's interesting. You grow up learning, just about vipers and elapids being the venomous snakes, and then you start really expanding your knowledge in the herpetological world, and there's all these venomous culibrids, a lot of them too. Like there's a whole subfamily that's exclusively for them.
yeah,
It's pretty neat.
yeah, and that actually the guy who wrote this book, I think I mentioned before, Dr. Zach Loafman. He also hosts a show called Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. So he's very
Oh,
particular about saying, "Oh, this isn't a colubrid; it's a colubroid," or something like that. So,
nice. That's cool.
but yeah, he also actually, uh, Herbst wasn't his first academic profession. He's actually first and foremost North American crayfish biologist. So,
Oh, that's interesting. There's a lot of gaps to fill in for crayfish. I know that even just local to me, there's a little known about our crayfish diversity.
yeah.
That's I don't really care about them, but if I ever find one,
Other than when you
or,
put them in a pot to boil, but
yeah, we eat those things here. I don't care if it's endangered or what. If it's a crayfish, it's going in the pot.
out of
But
all the
I
years
do
I've
keep
known you, I swear that's the most redneck thing I've ever heard you say.
when I'm out dip netting for like water dogs or something. I do keep an eye out because if I find one that looks a little different or something, I'll at least put it on iNaturalist and see if I found a new species or a range extension or something like that. So I try to contribute, but it's hard to be super interested in such a small, like insignificant animal.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It takes. I mean, I've seen like 2 species that really kind of blew my mind. Um, there's a couple around me that like are really cool looking and that just look a lot different. There's one that's like green. It looks like the color of the grass. It's like a
Hmm.
green crayfish. I thought pretty neat. Um, but yeah, not too
Either way, I
interested
can't eat
in.
it. So
Yeah, exactly.
no,
But
I can't eat it. But
oh, you're allergic to crustaceans?
yeah, Yeah,
Oh,
unfortunately.
that really sucks. Yeah, we just crawfish season started down here, and yeah, I've been stuffing my face. It was really funny. The other today, actually, someone posted on Facebook. Um, there was a dragonfly nymph in their crawfish at a restaurant, and they were freaking out
Okay.
about it, like it's the end of the world. And it's just really hilarious to me because they're over there, people they'll pay $10 a pound to eat this disgusting bottom dwelling detritivore scavenger crustacean, but then there's
But an
a
open
small
water apex predator.
apex predator, clean, probably no diseases, like no potential for disease is in their food. This little nymph, and they act like that's the end of the world. Like they like put in like huge complaints, and they're like, posting about it all over social media. Like, don't go eat here because they had a bug in their bucket of bugs.
They had an
So
arthropod with my arthropods.
yeah, I mean, I would probably be like, if I saw something like that in my food, it'd probably like throw me off for like a split second, but then I would come to my senses, and heck, I might even try it. It might taste really good in a boiled crawfish seasoning.
Yeah,
Be
yeah.
better than the crawfish themselves.
Who knows?
Crunchy. Speaking of food, I came back with a complete reliance on plantains. That's one thing about going down to the tropics. Plantains are eaten with like every meal. They're eaten as snacks. They're just like the superior fruit, way better than a banana. They're not as sweet. They're more of savory, more starchy. Oh, dude, I eat them like every day. It
Yeah,
may just be an analogy, I think, too. I wish I was in the I wish I was in the Amazon. So like it's like a taste of the Amazon every day.
yeah. So,
But
how far south into Suriname did your trip take you?
so we went about I think we ended up like about 7 hours into the interior. We bounced to different locations, getting further in with each move. So we started at Palulu. We got our first green anaconda there. Got the trigonatus, got the lemniscatus, coral snake, bushmaster, pseudoboa. We got our first slender tree boa there, little juvenile Halloween phase. That was one of the main targets. Really incredible little arboreal boas. Um, and from there we went to Brownsburg. That was pretty high up on a mountain. That was definitely like proper montane habitat. That's one thing about Suriname is it's Suriname, Guyana, and French Guiana, kind of the prominent ecological or geological region that it's known for is the Guyana Shield. And there's a lot of species found there that aren't found anywhere else because of that, that the mountainous terrain there.
Yeah,
So it's, in many ways it's got even more diversity than like the true interior of the Amazon basin, like Brazil, Peru. Because like where we weren't even in the Amazon watershed or the Amazon basin. We are just outside of it because of the Guyana Shield.
yeah. Acts
You,
as a
we don't get
barrier. Yeah,
yeah. There's not black caiman and Suriname, which was kind of a bummer to me. I got to go back for like a true Amazon adventure. I got to be like on a river in the interior, if not in the Amazon River, in one of the main stems or one of the main tributaries
main
of it.
tributaries. Yeah,
Like,
and
Suriname.
just have a 14, 15 foot crocodile and all of a sudden pull up next to you.
So Suriname is not, yeah, exactly. Suriname's not. It's not part of the Amazon basin, um, but it's still the Amazonia ecoregion. It's like all the same. It's like
Yeah,
continue. Um, But so yeah, we went to Brownsburg, and that was a pretty long drive up this mountain. And once you get to the top, like it was a little cooler up there. You could see for a pretty long ways. Just really incredible nature park up there. Um, we camped at the top of the mountain, or we stayed in these little cabins. Um, and that's where we went there mainly to see the Bothrops bilineatus, the emerald palm viper, the emerald tree boa. Um, and we ended up seeing a couple fer there and a couple other cool species. Fertile ants were just kind of like a recurring theme throughout the whole trip. Like you just
They're
see
kind of
them
like
everywhere.
copperheads around where you
Eh,
are.
really a shame because like we got to the point where we're like, oh, another fertile ants, get away from it, you know. But they're incredible snakes in their own right. And down there, I think it's Bothrops, a, I think it's Asper.
Okay, let's
I
see
think
here.
I think or it may have been Bothrops atrox. I can't remember. I've seen both species. I can't remember. One of them is in Central America, and one of them is in South America. Whichever one is which. Can't remember. I want to say it was shit, maybe not there. Is that the one in South?
That's Bothrops asper. I just looked it up. Let me look at the other one as well.
They look
So it was
identical. I have to
Bothrops.
Atrox. And down there they called them Labadia. That was kind of the local name.
Okay.
Labadia. Yeah, I can't tell. I'd have to see a range map. It says Costa Rica right there. So maybe that is the one from Central America. So I guess when we had down there was Bothrops atrox, which looks identical. It's just it's found um, in South America. Yeah, we probably saw, I don't know, 20 fertile ants whole trip. Our guide Dick, he actually stepped on one night. The last night actually he stepped on one.
So yeah, it looks like Atrox range map's looking like it is in Suriname.
Yeah, that sounds right. So yeah, our last night Dick he like stepped off the trail and turned off his light to take a leak, and he felt something squirming under his boot, and it was freaking fertile ants. Didn't even try to bite.
Ooh.
I mean, if it would have, he had boots on. It's still like that. So that's the first time it's happened to him. That's demonstrates why he. One thing about herping with that group with herping Suriname, they're very, very serious about safety, and you're not allowed to go out without knee-high rubber boots at a minimum. Like you're not allowed to
Sounds
go out.
responsible, yeah.
You don't you don't want to wear tennis shoes or hiking boots because you're not going to enjoy yourself. You're going to have to watch every single step you take. Like, and when you're herping the tropics, you're out at night, you're shining in the canopy most of the time. I mean, you shine on the ground sometimes, but like when we were at Brownsburg, we were shining in the canopy the entire time, trying to get the emerald palm viper and the emerald tree boa. So yeah, the chances of stepping on one was really high. I actually got pretty close. Surprisingly, not in the forest. It was on a river. Like they're very similar to a cottonmouth. They'll sit right on the water's edge to hunt frogs. And I was walking barefoot in this river, and that was the only time that the guides let me go barefoot was for this river hike we did. And he told us to look out for fertile ants, and sure enough, like walking across the sandbar, and one was like super close to where I stepped.
Yeah.
He spotted it, but so yeah, Brownsburg was pretty incredible. Saw we were there for herps, but like the birds and the primates were pretty incredible. We saw white-faced sockies there and red howler monkeys, which the howlers, dude, they just create the soundscape that is just incredible. Like their call is always present, throughout the daytime and nighttime. You hear them calling in the distance, and their call travels for miles. I think it's the loudest call of any mammal in the world. And
Well, maybe terrestrial because cetaceans could be pretty loud as well.
yeah, I was about to say, so, yeah, only for terrestrial. But yeah, because whales they dominate the ocean for sound, but their
Yeah,
call is like
sperm whales can literally raise your body temperature with their calls. So
the howler monkey. It's kind of like sometimes I can do it. It's like a. I can't do it right now. My voice is cracking. My throat's too dry. But it's like it sounds like they're sucking in. It's like but it echoes through the forest, and that sounded really bad. Sorry if you had to hear that. They sound way cooler, but maybe you can edit in a howler monkey call.
I'll see what I can do.
It sounds like King Kong is about to come flying out of the jungle. Like it is insane the calls they make. It makes the play just so mysterious and so cool. We ended up seeing them pretty close. I got a couple photos of howlers. There were always squirrel monkeys around, um, bearded sockies, spider monkeys, brown capuchins. Like I was almost as excited to see wild primates as any of the snakes, just because it's one thing black here in North America, unless you
Yeah,
believe in big.
yeah. I'm I'm not putting my foot into that ring. That's out of
I
my
wish
domain.
I wish there was a possibility for a large Bigfoot like primate, but there's just no chance. But let's not go down that rabbit hole right now.
As fun as that rabbit hole would be.
Yeah. What else?
This isn't a cryptid podcast, but
Hey, so
probably
Brown.
get more views than it was. But
All right. Brownsburg was really cool because it was cooler up there. It was like the most comfortable place, which really nowhere in Suriname was uncomfortable. Like the heat wasn't unbearable. It was the bugs weren't that bad. Like I didn't even wear mosquito spray or wear a mosquito net once. I felt
to be
fine.
fair, you were going the dry season.
It was a dry season. That's true. But yeah, it coming from Southeast Texas, like we have even when it's dry here, we have bad mosquitoes. Like it's terrible.
True, true.
Um, but I can imagine in the wet season down there, it could probably get pretty pretty nasty with bugs. Um, but yeah, what else did we find at Brownsburg? We saw multiple fer-de-lance, two emerald tree boas. I think that's where we got the blunt-headed tree snake. Get the genus. It's like a really common one down there. It's super long, slender, and then it's got this bulbous head, huge eyes. They may also be zenith, uh, a dipsatinae snake.
Might be. Let's see here. Hematotus? Is that it?
IMA.
IMAN?
Yep, that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yep. Yeah, we saw that snake. That was a really bizarre snake. It was hard to photograph. My camera wouldn't focus. They're just so thin. Oh, that's what. Shortly after, the blunt-headed tree snake and Metodes, we got a ret a reptile boa, which is apparently really rare to find in primary forest. Usually, you find them around, human civilization, like around villages or cities. The
Find it in
guys
the
we were
road.
with, I mean, and they're obviously they're in the primary forest, but I guess some species in pristine habitat are just they don't occur as in high of densities. Like like a rat snake species in the U.S. is going to be sometimes more abundant in the suburbs or in kind of agricultural settings than they would be like in pristine like pine forest or something, just because of the abundance of rodents and stuff. But anyway, we found one in primary rainforest, and that was apparently a pretty big deal. And it was the most beautiful boa I've ever seen. Like I've seen a lot of the different stuff in captivities, different locales, different morphs. This thing was stunning. I'm probably gonna post a picture of it tomorrow or the next day. But that was one of the major highlights. I was really excited that we got the emerald tree boa, but they're incredible snakes. But like that red-tailed boa was almost on the same level of fascination and beauty for me. And sounds really lame. Like some people are probably shaking their heads right now, but like that snake was just incredible, and the habitat that it was found in was really cool. Um,
Hey, you're not going to find any disagreement from me. I am a BCI supremacist as well. So
and then I think it was actually the last snake of our trip to Brownsburg was our second emerald palm viper, and I actually spotted that one myself, which is really hard to do because the guides are really good. Like they see everything before you ever get a chance to see it, and they see things that I never would have seen. Like they're just more in tune with herping at night, and they have a search image of the different species in their head. Like it makes a big difference, going with someone that's experienced. But yeah, so I spotted this bilineatus on my own, and Dick offered to let me climb for it myself, which they normally would not let people do that. But they had we had been in the field for a couple nights at this point, and they trusted me, and it was like a solid 30 to 40 foot climb. It was up there, high enough to where you get hurt if you fall, maybe even break your neck or back.
Yeah.
Up a very, very small diameter tree that I can almost fit two hands around. The tree was angling away from the snake. So like the higher I get, the further away from the snake I go. So I had to climb to the point where I could, like, I was high enough to get to it, but like I wasn't. If I went any higher, I would just be getting further away from it. And I'm a very adept climber, and like I take any chance I can get to climb a tree. I freaking love climbing trees. I always have.
Yeah.
Earlier, I tried to climb to get a better look at this white witch moth. It's like a 10-inch long moth. Ridiculous. Like I wanted to get a close picture of it. So anyway, yeah, I climb up this tree, and once I got to a certain point, they had to hand the tongs up to me, and I have like, very coordinated toes. So I used my feet to grab my foot to grab the tongs. Everybody thought that was hilarious because I look like a freaking monkey up there grabbing the tongs with my feet and then, like, handing them up to my hands. And so then I had to climb like another 10 feet with the tongs, like basically in my mouth. And at this point I was getting really tired. Like I'm not 18 anymore. I'm in decent shape, but like the fatigue set in a lot quicker than I anticipated. And I got all everybody down there cheering me on, and I'm reaching for the snake, and like I couldn't. It was in real tight coils, and I couldn't get it to break with these tongs. And finally, started to move, and scrambling. Like so, I'm like reaching with my left arm, and like then I'm holding on with my right arm. My feet are anchoring me to the tree, but like there was a point where the fatigue was really starting to set in, and I could feel my forearm starting, like my grip starting to give out, like very, very soon, within seconds. And so like I'm trying to keep a straight head. I got this highly venomous snake I got to send down. I finally snag it, and as I'm like I like sit, like I go to like hand it down, and I'm like, well, drop it. Like I didn't know what to do. I'm so far up the tree, there's no one there to grab it. I ended up getting it to, it ended up like, attaching to the tree below me. And I was like, shit, now I can't climb down. He had a long stick, and he, coaxed it down. Like right, just as soon as the snake was off the tree, my hand started slipping, and I just slid straight down. There was no branch. I just slid down like a freaking fireman's, like a firefighter, like pole.
Like in the movies.
Like in the movies, like the firefighters, yeah, like they go down like the little pole, like downstairs or whatever. I don't know
Yeah.
what they call it. You know what I mean, right? I slid right down this thing. I like scraped my leg all up.
Rainforest stripper pole.
Dude, it was, yeah, exactly. Like honestly, I didn't even think about it till after, but like in the jungle, you don't just go like touching like branches or leaves, or like you keep your hands to
Yeah.
what's gonna pop you. And I climbed this tree of not even thinking about like bullet ants or some random caterpillars or like other creepy crawlies that could hurt you.
Spider or something like that. Yeah.
Hit by anything. I get, you just take the risk, and I was fine. But yeah, and then we get down, and like I was super excited to find the snake, but like at the same time, my adrenaline was through the roof, and like I had like anxiety from almost falling, trying to catch my breath. It was like this whole like mix of like happiness, like I was scared. I almost just fell 40 feet down a tree. Like it was a wild experience. I was really grateful for it, and I got my very best pictures of that snake. Out of all the pond vipers we found, that was the one I got really good pictures of. It posed up really nicely. Just beautiful, like
Well,
just
it better have. You worked for it.
yeah, right. Yeah, it was that was an incredible snake. That was probably the single coolest like experience within the whole trip, was getting to, I spotted it and I got to climb up and get it myself. Like I felt like I really earned it. Um, Later on, I got to grab an anaconda. That was my last snake in Suriname. Actually, was I didn't spot it, but I got to grab it, and that was equally cool. Um, but yeah, dude, it was awesome. Um, then we ended well, next we went to Fredberg. That place was really remote. It was on a river deep into Suriname. It was started by this guy named Fred. He's he's a maroon guy. He started this birding company and he created this lodge, beautiful lodge. There's like small little lodges within like the greater complex of it all. And it's like half the property is the eco lodge and the other half is a maroon village. Um, and all the people that live there like work for the lodge. But they live really remote. They live off the land like that. They live like traditionally like they would in Africa, which is pretty cool. And at Fredberg, what did we get in Fredberg? There we did hikes on the river, which the river was really low, so like we didn't we didn't do as well. We did get another anaconda there. Um, One really cool moment on that night hike on the river was we had to get in. We had to take off our shoes, put water shoes on. Like we hiked down on land, then we hiked back in the river. So we wore boots down, then we had to like take everything off and wear water shoes back. But I didn't have any, so I just went barefoot. But I stopped to photograph these gladiator tree frogs, which are these just ginormous tree frogs. They're like 6-7 inches long, and they build these little arenas, these small, shallow kind of holes in the ground. It looks like a fish spawning bed almost, like just like a kind of depression in the soil on the bank, like during the dry season. And I think it's actually like the arena serves like multiple purposes. It's like where courtship occurs, but also like I think the males will like battle in the arena. Don't quote
Why do
me
they
on
call them
that.
gladiator frogs? But
Yeah, how they get the name gladiator frog is because like they build this big arena. It's like they're big too. Like when I first saw these holes in the bank, I was like, I don't know if humans made them or what, or if they were old like spawning beds when the river was higher from fish. They were all gladiator tree frogs, and so I think there's something to do with the male combat, and then that's where that's where the courtship and all the reproduction happens there, and that's where they lay the eggs as well. Like when they fill up the water, and you would see a nest with the eggs in it, like a couple inches of water with the eggs floating on top, and then nearby you'd see the male and the female sitting on like a limb nearby, looking down over their little arena. It's pretty neat. But I took some time photographing these things, and everybody else like started hiking again upriver, and so I was hiking for like a solid 20 minutes by myself. I could barely even see their lights, and it's like chest deep in the middle of Amazonia, and it was like a full moon, and you would think you'd be scared in that moment, but man, I just turned my headlight off and just went by moonlight, and I felt at one with the forest and the river. Like I was in one of the wildest places on planet Earth, walking alone in this water. And like really the only thing that could have hurt me, and I didn't really realize how common they were until later on, would have been an electric eel. They're actually like all over the place. We ended up seeing one, but I didn't really think about those at all. There were no stingrays in that area, so like they weren't an issue. No black caiman. Could have been like a 5-6 meter anaconda that could easily have taken me out, but I wasn't really
I don't think
thinking
it's
about
ever
that.
been I don't think it's ever been recorded human fatalities from anacondas. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think they actually attack
I've never
humans the same way like
read
retic would.
I've never heard of it. It's had to have happened at some point. Like
Some poor tribesman in the middle of the Amazon at some point just disappears and never shows up again.
Like a 4 or 5 year old native kid swimming in the river. Like it's had to have happened in some remote village over millennia. But yeah, they're not an immediate threat to an adult human, but still, it's like I like the lore of it, like huge anaconda swimming around. But anyway, yeah, I was just like walking the river and I could turn my headlight off, and it was a really special moment. And that's I was there to see the snakes, but I was also there to really connect with planet Earth, man. Like that's the most pristine, pure form of our planet. It's the lungs of the earth. That's I think it's also like the heart of planet Earth is, anywhere along the equator and the equatorial rainforests. It's like that's like the heart of life, in my mind. It's just
I
where this.
actually had recently just finished listening to the audiobook version of the novel Congo by Michael Crichton. I don't know if you ever read
Oh,
it or not.
need to. I'm gonna write that down. What's it called?
Congo,
It's Congo. Okay. By who?
Michael Crichton. He's the same guy that wrote Jurassic Park.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to learn about the Congo.
It's not so much a learning. Well, I guess you do learn a little bit about the Congo,
Or about
but
the
anything else,
adventure.
yeah, it's kind of an adventure looking for like a lost city, and
Yeah,
also has a lot
yeah.
to do with like primate intelligence as well.
Okay,
Because one
cool.
of the
Yeah,
things is that's one of the main aspects is gorillas learning how to communicate via sign language. So,
yeah, I'm definitely gonna listen to it. Um,
but uh, but one thing, but one of the because it's a novel, has takes the liberty of telling you what the character is thinking, and one of the
right.
characters, the guy who's primate uh, expert, he said about Congos and the rainforest in general, it's almost like a primordial womb of the earth almost, in that it's a very stable, warm environment that species radiate out of to the rest of the world almost.
That's always how I've thought about like the Americas. Like all of like the herps that we have here, they would have had to have radiated out from like Central and South America because we are under glaciation and all of this stuff like that. All the origins of life here had to have come from the tropics, or at least for herps.
Uh, I was about to say I don't fully agree with that statement because I looking at the paleontological record, there's a plenty of temperate species that actually move down into the tropics.
Okay,
So,
I guess
like a lot of
I guess either way, but like I would, it's surely like the majority of our herp diversity would trace back to Latin America. No.
actually, a lot of our herps are actually more similar to East Asian herps. So,
Oh, you're right. Yeah, yeah, because they had like they have an echistrodon, or like I think it changed, but they had an echistrodon like snake there.
yeah, like the mamushi or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I got you.
they have cryptobranchid giant salamanders. We have a
Yep,
cryptobranchid giant salamander. They
they
have
have.
alligators. We have an alligator.
They also have a paddlefish. Um, they share a lot of species with us. Not a lot, but like there's some like major species they share with us.
Yeah, uh, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I have to look up. We had this guy on a while back. He was actually a herpetologist who does work down in southern China, and he was saying even the plant life is similar over there. Like if
That's
you
cool.
were just randomly dropped off in the middle
Oh,
of the national park in southern China, in like south central China, you weren't told it was south central China, you might think you were in like North Carolina. So
yeah. The Texas state fungus species is it's like the Texas star fungus. The only other place it's found is Texas and China. Super random.
let's see if I
Yeah,
can find his name.
it's amazing that they haven't like. Oh, surely they're genetically gonna drift apart over
Yeah,
time. That's cool though. Yeah, I forget about our close
yeah,
biogeographic relations with China.
yeah. Dr. Kevin Messenger, that's his name.
Okay, yeah. I feel like I've
Yeah.
heard that name before.
Uh, Worked at
Oh,
Nanjing Forestry University. But
yeah.
thing is, he also lives, spends a lot of time in China, so it's kind of hard to get a hold of him. So
Yeah.
at times, we managed to get a hold of him
Oh,
when he was in back in home in like Virginia or North Carolina.
he's a younger guy, right?
Yeah, he is. He's
And he has his
probably
PhD now.
5 years older than us, maybe.
And he has his PhD now.
Yeah,
He must have just got it then, because I feel like since
he got it a few years ago, I think.
I've been friends with him on Facebook or Instagram for like a decade now. I feel like, and like he when I first became friends with him, he had nothing to do with China, and then he like moved over there later on.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes yeah, that's the same. That's cool. Yeah, he's from the East Coast.
yeah. Like I said, I think he's North Carolina. That's where he's from.
I would love
I could be wrong though.
super cool to go there and explore China with him. Um, where was I on the Suriname trip? Fredberg. That was the really remote place. I'm trying to think of what we found in Fredberg that was really rainbow boas. We found two
I
rainbow
was
boas one.
I was planning to ask you eventually about that.
Yeah, that and they were not expected either because like they're Dick calls them rain boas because they are highly dependent on rain.
Hmm.
So like they were not expected, and we found two in one night. A big adult that was just absolutely stunning. I mean, they like glow under light, dude. The iridescence is insane. Like it just
Yeah.
blows. And then we found a small juvenile, like back to back. Like right after that, we found a small juvenile not far away, which was not near as impressive, but still kind of neat. You know, it's um, like you see them in the pet trade your whole life. I even had a couple for a while. Um, and yeah, to see them in the wild's like just surreal. It's like seeing a ball python in the wild. I feel like.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think rainbow bow is a wild type rainbow bow is a lot more eye catching than a wild type ball python.
Yeah, but I feel like I would be as lame as ball pythons are. If I saw one in natural habitat, I would be fascinated. You know, I'd be like, wow,
Yeah.
this thing actually exists in nature, not just in a
Not just in tubs. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so the rainbow bows were man, those are really cool. We we did a backpacking trip at Fredberg. We hiked up a mountain. It was like a 5 hour hike. We did it at night, and that's where we got the that other vine snake, Xena something. It's in a different
Xenosan.
genus.
Yeah.
And it's similar to
A bunch of
Oxybella.
Latin. I
Yeah, got that.
think it's
Uh,
also a philodryadid.
yeah,
Venus. Xenozybellus.
yeah, that's it. Xena zybellus. Yep.
Let me see.
And then we were looking for Bothrops tenuatus, um, another really cool pit viper. We did not find tenuatus, unfortunately, but we did find multiple harlequin toads, the Adelopus, which were really cool. Um, that's a genus I never really knew much about, never really heard of, but they're incredible. Like I would love to keep Adelopus if there's any sustainable way to get them. I think they're in the pet trade pretty
Okay.
commonly. Um,
Yeah. But probably mostly as imports, unfortunately.
yeah, just really neat little. I mean, they look like a poison dart frog. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, Xena, Xena Zabellus, Xenoxibellus or whatever. Yeah, they look like it's like highlighter green on their face, and their tongue is the same color too. They had like the one we found, it stuck its tongue out the whole time, and its tongue was the same color as its head.
Yeah.
Beautiful snake. Very hard to photograph though. Like I could not get good photographs of it. It's so awkward, so thin.
Let me guess, they like moving around a lot.
Yeah. It wouldn't sit very still, and it was but yeah, it was a really interesting snake. I had picked it up, and I didn't realize it could possibly give you a decent little bite.
Yeah,
Glad I did.
it's philodryad.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad I didn't get hit by it. And it's not that some of these snakes are probably not that big of a deal. You just don't want to do that on a trip like that. Have to worry about infection and having issues. Like even
yeah.
with the boat, I really tried hard to avoid a bite. And usually, I'm okay getting bit by non-venomous snakes. I really don't care. Um, like I'll take a bite to the face from a rat snake and not think twice about it. But like when you're in the Amazon, I try to avoid any open wounds because like the tropics, man, there's all sorts of shit trying to kill you, bacteria,
Yeah.
disease. Um,
Don't need to give it a free port of entry.
yeah, yeah. This there was a girl with this that she's a big python hunter, and she kind of she's very careless. Like she's like, oh, I'll get bit by whatever. I'm like, "Hey, you do you, I'll do me. You can take a. She got bit by the anaconda, and she was fine. She didn't get infected or anything. Not that I
Well,
know of. She
fortunately,
have
it's a smaller anaconda, though, right?
right, yeah. Like, but my preference was to avoid all bites. And I did get hit by the rainbow boa, but it bit me on the leg, so it didn't get through my pants. And I got bit by the helicops. I think that was it.
Yeah.
Um,
I was going to say, even for like a large constrictor, even large non-venomous constrictors can, if they really get a clamp on you, they could cause a nasty, nasty injury,
it
like
was
physically.
the python hunter. She wasn't super familiar with emerald tree boas, and she
Oh
was like picking.
no!
And we were like, "You don't understand. Their teeth are massive." And she was like, "Oh, I'm not worried about it." I was like, "Oh my god, this thing bites her." Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like getting bit by a freaking pit bull. It's,
except with 100 teeth.
yeah, I'd rather get bit by a that thing. That's scary.
Which
Yeah.
which would you rather give it by an emerald tree boa or a ringtail lemur?
Um.
I know you have experience with at least one of those bites, so
Yeah. The ringtail wasn't that bad. I'd probably take the ringtail. um. But yeah, the Fredberg trip was good. We ended up hiking up this mountain, camping at the top in hammocks, and it was the most beautiful view when we woke up. It was a big, like granite rock. It kind of reminded me of like Enchanted Rock in Texas, like a big, I think they call them batholiths, like a giant, giant dome rock,
okay.
you know, protruding out of the earth. It's like a mountain, and we woke up really early to catch the sunrise because you could see for miles, just unbroken jungle, just wild jungle as far as you can see. Howler monkeys calling, just the buzz of life, toucans, macaws, like just. And we ended up that morning. We ended up trying to go for the Andean cock of the rock. It's like the top bird to see, and
Okay, I'm glad you
Suriname.
clarified it was a bird, but
This beautiful. It's got like this orange crest. It's an orange bird. They got this big crest.
is it like it's
They
some sort of a foul bird, fowl, or
no, not like a it's not like a jungle fowl or like a grouse or anything. It's I don't know why they call it cock of the rock, but I think the rock part of it comes from the fact that I guess they do form their leks on rocks, like rocky areas. So like they form really big breeding leks, and apparently when they're breeding, you can get really close, and the photos are really easy. But we were we just missed the breeding season, so we didn't see any.
uh,
Like next time I go to Suriname, I'm going when they're in season because that's like my next target for Suriname is that species over any of the herps because we got most of the big herps. The only herps we were missing were like Teniatas, which is that cool Bothrops. Pipa Pipa, we didn't get to see the really cool Suriname toad. We did get a Pipa surinamensis, which is a smaller version of it. It's like a miniature Pipa Pipa, which is kind of neat. Um, but yeah, we got most of the big targets. I'd like to see a big anaconda next time. The last one we caught was like a little bigger. It was probably a 5 foot snake. Still a baby. They just think it's massive. Um, and yeah, from Fredberg, we ended up back in Paramaribo, staying at Zootopia, which is the resort um, that Unlock Nature is based out of. Like you can also just go stay at the resort and go herp the
yeah,
local places on. I want to do that next time. Just go down there and stay at Zootopia, hang out with the guys there. They're just such a great group of people down there. Um, all the guys that work there are super cool. I'd love to go down there and just like stay at Zootopia, hang out, catch a herp trip here and there, a birding trip, kind of take it easy. Because this 10-day trip was pretty balls to the walls, like it herping every night, no breaks, catching up on sleep, taking multiple showers throughout the day just to feel cool and clean. Um,
yeah.
but the food was really good. I will say, I was impressed by the food. The chef, her name is Soraya. She took extra care of me because I have a lot of dietary restriction, and she nailed it. She cooked all the food I needed. So if you're thinking about herping Suriname, you need to go with Herping Suriname, the company, because they are solid people. They care a lot about the animals. But they let us they let us get out there and have fun too. They didn't hold us back. Um, 10 out of 10 all around.
Yeah. Any other species that you saw that you want to talk about?
I'm trying to
Oh,
think. We
crocodilian wise, did you ever see anything other than Paleosuchus?
we got the specs. Got the spectacled caiman. Actually had a really fun adventure catching one. We went from Fredberg back to Paramaribo, and we herped like the local nature park. It's called Pepper Pot. It was an old tobacco plantation. There's still like the original plantation houses are still in use now. They turned it into a hotel.
Hmm.
Um, which is really interesting. It like you see like all these Dutch people eating there, and it looks like you've like gone back in time. Um, it looks like the American South. It's just really really interesting, and we're out there like shining for Peepa Peepa and anacondas around this place. But that last night in Suriname at Pepper Pot, we saw 32 snakes. Like that was just for the Amazon. That's like unheard of. Like most places in the Amazon, like it's 5 snakes a night is like but good snakes, But that's typical. Pepper Pot is except the disturbed kind of ag influenced habitat, so I guess there's more food there. It's not a balanced ecosystem, so there's a lot of certain species. So we found tons of these little like mock vipers. I can't remember the genus. Uh, little orange snakes. They're probably xenodontids too.
I can't get in the book. Glad I
I
have
think
it on
they're
hand.
I think they're rear fanged, so they're probably in the book. Um, saw a bunch of those. We caught the spectacle came in that night, and me and uh, Rosie Moore jumped in for those. She's kind of got a big social media following now. She does a lot of work with sharks and crocodilians. Um, so her and I jumped in there and swam for these caiman, which was a lot of fun, little babies. Um, Bertilants at night, a couple snail suckers. Um, what else did we get that night? Another slender tree boa. We saw a leptodiver that night. Bunch of fertilants. We saw a bunch of snakes, but not as many species. There's a bunch of those little mock vipers and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through my pictures and just make sure I'm not missing
Maybe
any.
Tripododyrus, maybe? Let me see.
I can't remember, man. There's so much. We saw so much. um, I think we talked about the coral snake. The smoky jungle frogs are freaking spectacular. Giant leptodactylus frogs.
Yeah.
They're like bigger than a bullfrog, but they're a leptodactylus. Really weird. Um, I'm gonna Google it.
Oh, see the right group.
No, that could be it. I don't think so though. No, that doesn't look like it. They're small little things. It looks like a large like decays brown snake.
Yeah. There's a few others that might be like a viper mimic. Oh yeah, Helicops is a xenodont. Looks like.
Yep.
Oh, I found it.
Maybe Samo dynasties.
Samo dynasties. Let's see here.
No, that's wrong. That's the wrong place. Looks like that one's in Asia. Doesn't sound there either. They're like super common little things. They're all in the grass.
Yeah. This isn't related to this. It was another South American. South
Suriname.
American Xenodon.
I think it's Thamno dynasties. Yep, that's it. Thamno dynasties.
Feminodon.
Yep, Pallidus. We saw there'd be like a grassy area, and you'd see 5 or 6, like all in the grass. It's really cool. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think those are. Let me check.
Yeah, they would spread
Yep,
another Xenodon.
yep. Another Xenodon.
That's cool.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
we
you need to
saw
get your hands on this book.
a lot of species in that group. That's cool.
Here's
Yeah, we saw. They're kind of like they kind of reminded me of like just how common they were and kind of the niche they fill. They're like garter snakes or ribbon snakes back home.
are you talking about these guys right here?
Yeah, they're just really common in like ag areas and grassy areas, and you'd see like multiple in one area. They're kind of small. Mm. We
So
we didn't see any in that genus.
yeah,
It's interesting.
there's some of the South American hognoses, which are actually not that closely related to North American hognoses, just convergent. I mean, they're both dipsadids, but it's different branches of the dipsadids.
Right.
Some of those can be a bit of a viper mimic.
The tricolored.
Yeah, tricolor is the most common one. Xenodon vulture. That's the most common one you see here in in the States.
I'd love to see that one in the wild.
Yeah, that's vulture. That's southern
Grassland.
Brazil. Yeah, southern Brazil, like Paraguay, northern Argentina. So
Hmm.
that's
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, that'd be a cool area to herp. A lot of people
I've
when they
always
think of
wanted to go to the Pantanal. So
herping South America, they automatically just think of the Amazon stuff. But dude, there's incredible grasslands like the Pampas grasslands in the north, like in the Orinoco Basin. There's like the Llanos marshlands, I think they call it. There's like a bunch of other habitats there that have some amazing snakes. That's an interesting one.
okay, the Amazon Falls Lancet. That's what I was looking for.
Oh yeah,
She is not Dorbingi. Yeah, it
that
is.
a daunt too. Severus, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. It's definitely got the mimicry going on.
Yeah, so Xenodon's a bit of an interesting genus.
Yeah. Yeah, that basically concludes the trip though. There's some other stuff I'm missing, but yeah, 26 species of snakes. Um, we got all the main highlights. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Got the Chironius, the big coach whip like snakes. Saw some interesting
Is
arboreal.
there any Trimarchon in Suriname, or are they more
Yeah, we
Amazon?
looked for Grebo. That's one we did miss out on. Another group got one like the same day in the same area we were in, but we never saw. It was hard to complain though. We got most of our big targets.
Yeah, but those
Could have
like
been cool.
coach whips, I'm not going to lie. When I first saw them on your story, they almost looked a bit like Yellowtail Creepo, a little bit.
Big that big with the yellow belly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first. That was a big snake. Yeah, it kind of looks. Yeah, it kind of looks like a big big yellow-tailed Crebo. I've actually found black-tailed Crebos. Did you know that?
I did not. Where did you find those at?
In Belize. I've seen 2 there. I caught.
Oh yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love
Yeah.
to go back. I want to go back to Belize this summer. That's another easy tropical herping trip, 2-hour flight. Like, and lucky for me, I have a free place to stay with the CRC. And as long as I do some volunteering, I can just go down there and catch crocs and go herp. But I want to go back. I need to get photographs of the black-tailed Crebo, so I'd love to go back and herp for those. And um, go for the tropical rattlesnake, some other stuff. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, this
This
trip
view.
it
Go ahead.
I feel really inspired to learn more about the tropics. Like it's it's not as unattainable as I thought. Like I always thought like I would just there's too much danger involved and like I just wasn't up for the challenges of herping the tropics. But I mean, it's just not it's not as big of a deal as I originally thought. You know, and after going to Suriname and really like these guys I was with, they moved down there from Europe. You know, they live and breathe this stuff every day, and they have the time of their life doing it. Um, so yeah, after seeing like just what they do and experiencing it, I want to spend more time in Costa Rica, Belize, Mexico. I've been thinking a lot about northern Mexico. There's incredible species not far away from Texas, like 2 hours away from Texas. There's two species of cantil. There's a
Oh
Kishadon
yeah.
taylori, Kishadon bilineatus. Like they're just 2 hours from the border, 6 hours from where I live right now, just right there. But you got to get past the borderlands, which is sketchy. But I've been looking into it. Like if you take the toll roads and stuff, like it's supposed to be pretty safe. And
If
then once you
only
get to
America.
Monterey,
Yeah. If only America took more land after the Mexican-American War, there was so many more cooler herps in the United States.
they should have they should have pushed it to south of those first mountains, and that would have been good because we would have had the most incredible mountains, like the mountains in Monterey. That's that first mountain range you hit going into Mexico. It looks like it looks like you'd have to travel like across the world to experience that. The waterfalls, the mountains, but it's just like right there, dude. And there's a couple species of rattlesnakes that are incredible. There's like the Tamaulipan rock rattlesnake, the Tanahawkin rattlesnake, or something like that. Pretty cool. There's like all these cool like Scaloporus lizards, bright blue and emerald green, and cool birds and all this stuff, and it's just like right there. So I'm really trying to find connections there. Yeah, that's an easy place like to just go down for like a weekend, and feels like you're
Yeah.
on the other side, but you're just like right across the border.
Yeah. At the same time, though, it's like you're driving around in back roads in Mexico. A gringo with a big camera, you might get some unwanted attention.
Well, luckily for me, my great grandfather was actually born in Coahuila, like not far from there. So I
Was
got
he
roots.
was he one of the Apaches or?
Yeah, yeah, he was native to that area. There are a lot of Apaches there, and there's some other tribes there as well, but a lot of Apaches. And so yeah, like I got enough brown skin, I think, where I won't stand out as much.
I
But
probably would
crazy.
though. So
It's crazy to bring that up though, because it's weird. It seems like such a foreign place to me, but like I have family roots there. You know,
yeah, yeah,
Like, even before it was Mexico, I had family there. Like for however long they were there, thousands of years, maybe hundreds of years at least. But it seems like such a foreign, dangerous like endeavor to go there. It's kind of sad. But yeah, like yeah, herping the tropics, more Mexico. That's kind of like what's in the cards for me, I think. And I still need to see a bunch of stuff. Like I need to go to Ohio, and like, there's amazing herps there too, and cool ecosystems. And I feel
Let
bad.
me know. I'll see if I can originate something. I'll see if I can organize something for you.
There's so much to see here in the States, but I'm gonna probably be on a little tropical herping kick for a while. While I got the interest, see how
Yeah.
long it lasts. Easy to get addicted to seeing all the species. Um, yeah. Anyway, yeah, man, that was it. That was my Suriname trip. It was incredible. Highly recommend it if you want to, safe, easy, trip to the Amazon. And like I'll say that also because like I honestly my next trip to the Amazon, I want more adventure and more. I don't want to put myself in danger, but I want more element of uncertainty of like going up into the Amazon by boat. Like this is a pretty mild trip, man. Like it's not it's super attainable for people that are nervous about going to the Amazon, worried about safety issues, diseases, like stuff like that. If you go with herping Suriname, like you're gonna be well taken care of. The guides are amazing. They know the ins and outs of the country. It's a very, very low danger country. It's I felt safer there camping than I do anywhere in Texas. Just to give you an idea, just because there's so few people.
Yeah.
Like if I'm camping in East Texas, like I got my pistol on me. I like put a carabiner on my zipper on my tent, so it's like easier. It's like harder to like open it
Yeah.
and do all this stuff. But like in Suriname, dude, I'll sleep in a hammock in the middle of the forest by myself and not even be scared. Like, because there's just
Hmm.
nobody. There's jaguars, but like you don't really worry. That's not like an immediate threat. Like there's never attacks from jaguars. Um, so yeah, just to give people an idea, like it's not as wild as people think. It's still I'm not as well traveled, so it was still like a very novel thing to like be so far from home. And there's like a level of um, excitement and kind of anxiety about like experiencing a new country like that. Because I've only been to Belize and Mexico, and like those are like so close to home. Um, but yeah, so going to Suriname, it was really opened my eyes. I was like, wow, the world really is bigger than your own backyard. But just because you're far from home in this exotic place doesn't mean it's inherently more dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a pretty chill country. Like I never felt unsafe at all. So
Uh,
definitely.
I'm gotta ask you a question real quick. Is there any time you have to get off? How much further do you feel like going?
I'm reaching my limit. I'm pretty tired. I'm still recovering from Suriname.
Okay.
But
I mean, I feel like I could talk with you for hours on end, but
we can do it
uh,
again. But I'm reaching.
yeah,
I'm getting close to my limit. If we want to find
yeah.
an
I was about
ending
to
call,
say, I was about to say, if we wanted to go further, I would have to take a little break to use the restroom. But if-
we got their Suriname, so that's good.
yeah, I guess we
Um,
could call it for the moment then.
yeah,
So
and we can get back together, sometime soon and just talk about, xenodonts and herp taxonomy and stuff. I learn a lot when we start talking like this.
there,
So
yeah, there's a few herping ideas I want to bounce off of you for like here in North America. So
heck yeah,
all right.
sounds good, man.